Hi crafty friends, it's Lori with a craft party. Today we're going to make paper beads and make this dangle. I have a bunch of different items to use today. I've got a crochet hook. It is an H 5mm. I've got some tweezers, some cotter pins. I do not know what size my cotter pins are, but I have a variety. And it really doesn't matter which size you use. I've got a ruler here, a bone folder, some scissors, some wax thread. So a little bit of everything. Some spacers that are 8mm. I think I measured these at 10mm. These are some claw hooks. Yeah, approximately 8 or 10mm, if that's the way you measure them. I'm not even sure. Then I've got some paper beads here. I also have some eyelets. I've got a whole little container here of eyelets. And then I've made these paper beads. I've got some LA Color Rapid Dry Clear Fingernail Polish. I believe I got that at Dollar Tree. I've got some glue. It is art glitter glue. I just stuck it in the tacky glue bottle. Bone folder, scissors. I have a stylus here. Just a little bit of everything to see how we do. I'm going to push this off to the side a little bit. I hope all those are dry. Okay, and I've got my handy dandy cutter. We'll see how we do with this. I've been cutting the beads at a 1/2 inch. The paper at a 1/2 inch, making 1/2 inch beads. That's what I want to say. So I've got that. I've got a few of them over here already cut up. And then I've been cutting these at 1 inch. And they're kind of oblong. And I'll show you that. We're going to cut that at 1 inch to make the beads, I believe, 1 inch. So we cut that. I'm going to put this piece off to the side. And what I'm doing is I'm putting this corner in the valley, the cutting valley, and I'm putting this corner in the cutting valley. So let me move this down in case you can't see. But it's the opposite corners are going in the cutting valley. And then you cut so that you got a triangle. Put my cutting blade up. Handy dandy cutter. And now you have 2 triangular pieces of paper to make a bead. I am going to show you how to do it with a cotter pin. That's my favorite way to do it. To use a stylus or stylus, you just wrap it around. Once you get it started, it's not as bad, but you would wrap it around in this manner. But I don't want mine that big around, so I'm going to take it off of here. Going to get out my H 5mm crochet hook, and I'll show you. It just takes a little bit to get it started. Once it gets started, then you just keep wrapping it around, trying to center it because you want, it's going to keep getting smaller. So you want that center to stay in the center. And you just keep wrapping it around. One thing that was nice about using this paper is I had a mark on it from ink. I had it sitting there and I had got some ink on it. And so this makes perfect use of that marked up, oops, I made a mess, of that marked up paper, because you won't see it in the end. And you just keep twisting it. Now you saw I put glue on it, and I just keep twisting it until the center is the skinny part, and then use my fingers to clean up the glue. Like I said, I've got a towel over here. You're going to want one for wiping your fingers off, and then you just carefully slide it off and set it off to the side. I'm going to set this here so I know that it needs the fingernail polish on it. Oops, dropped some stuff. Now they do make a tool. It's on Amazon. I believe it's $25 to $30, but it works a lot like the cotter pen. These I stole from my husband's tools. Well, I confiscated them, but he knew I was doing it, so it's not like I got away with anything. Now, I prefer to use the cotter pen. It can give you trouble, which it has given me trouble today. When you're going to slide it off, if you've wound the paper too tight, it doesn't want to come off the cotter pen, because the cotter pen is meant to be tight. So I'm just winding it up just like I did on the crochet hook. Use your nail if you need to keep it in line, because when you're doing the rectangle paper, not the triangled paper, you want to keep it so that it isn't going over one side or the other. Keep it in line. And you can make this out of pretty much any paper that you want. I recommend like scrapbook paper. The thicker the paper, I think the harder it would be. I am using 12 by 12 scrapbook paper. But you could, I'm sure, use scraps. Get out my glue. Comes out so fast, I have to be careful. There we go. And then wipe that on my towel. And I'm winding it. And then I hold it a second at the end. Just to hope it stays shut. The glue usually does, but you know, sometimes it doesn't. And then you slide it off the cotter pen. And I use my bone folder to kind of tap on it, and it slides that back in. And I've got a little bit here that didn't glue down, so I'm going to do it again. Okay, we'll go back to the triangle paper bead. And I move my tools off to the side so it's out of your way. And this did make an inch bead. It's a little smaller than an inch because I didn't wrap it real well. But, let's see. No. Okay. Wanted to see if the eyelets would go in there. Then, what I do, and I'm squeezing my tweezers to hold it on there, but it's not working the greatest. And I'm painting on the clear fingernail polish. Now you can use resin to do this. You could use polyurethane, any one of those things that gives a clear finish. Now you could use colored fingernail polish or paint to make it different colors if you prefer. If you're trying to just use up some of your papers that you don't like. So you could use and paint it, or use glittered clear fingernail polish would also be neat. When I use the crochet hook, I'm going back to this because I forgot to tell you. If you want to use the eyelets, this is my preference. I put eyelet on, grab my paper, and I've just got one already cut here. I hold it on there. I put the other eyelet on, and then I get them close enough together that that it's on either side, and then I carefully wrap the paper. This is a lot harder, and I use the fat part of the crochet hook to help me. Once you get it started, it's not as bad, but it is a workout. Because you're constantly fussing with two eyelets and the paper. And this one's not wrapping the best, I can tell. But it's giving you an idea of how it works. And then you want to wrap it until the paper comes to the edge of the eyelet. Got some of the glue off my finger. To me, this one is a little bit harder, but you have the eyelets on the ends, kind of like this one. I hope you can see that. So it gives you a little bit different looking bead. And I'm just keep winding it till it gets to be the same size as the edge. Let's cut it first. So it's the same size as the edge of the eyelet. Wipe that off. Wrap this around. Hold it there a second. And I did get a little white there. And then you just set it off to the side and let the glue dry again, just like you did the other one, and it'll end up looking like this. I hope you can see that. There's another one. So, and if your beads, get out some more eyelets. If your beads are wrapped around the crochet hook, sometimes you can slide the eyelet in afterwards, but it's not as easy. And then you still have to glue it in. This one's not going in. There it did. I need another red. And that one slid in real easy. And there you have, that's after and I use the crochet hook. It's a little harder to do. Okay. I'm going to move some of these tools and items out of the way. Now I want to do this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a couple beads that I have already done because they're dry. I've got some wax thread here. And the first thing I'm going to do is string the wax thread through a claw hook. I think that's what it's called. And I'm going to do one knot. And then I'm going to do another knot. And then I am going to put a little fingernail polish on that knot to seal it, so later I can cut that edge off. I'm going to, let's see, I had a little hole in here. See if I can get a few of them out. Okay. And again, these were 8mm. And it doesn't matter how long your wax thread is, because we'll be cutting it off. Then I put one of these bead spacers on. And then we'll put on a bead. And I'm just threading them through. And then a bead spacer. And this is all I had to work with. I checked my jewelry and my jewelry making stuff, and that's all I had. So I probably could find some that's a little bit nicer at the Hobby Lobby, but I'm just using what I have on hand. Now, here you can either tie this off and have it be just this, or you can do what I did and put another lobster claw clasp. That's what it's called. Lobster claw clasp. And I'm going to put another one of these on. That way, if I want to put more than one on, I can. And I'm going to do a knot. And I'm going to show you, hopefully, how I get the space out of my thread. If you haven't seen this before. Where's my needle? I have sufficiently lost the needle. It's in here. And then what I do is I stick it in the knot that we made, and I pull. And that will slide it, like I said, maybe. Okay. Slide it down to where you want it. And keep making the hole smaller, and then keep sliding it. And eventually, you will get that down to where you want it. I still want mine smaller. There we go. It's got a little play in it, but that'll work. And then I make another knot and do the same thing. It's kind of hard to get my fingers to work. Pull that through, and I use the needle again to get it down there where I want it, because we want it all the way down on top of the other knot. There we go. Oops, I hope my head wasn't in the way. Okay, then we use the scissors and cut us off a little length and use the clear fingernail polish on the knot. And then we'll let that dry. And then we'll cut, after the fingernail polish dries, then we will cut the excess wax thread off. And here's what we've got. We've got the Reader's Digest book. I have a bulb pin, and I just opened it up and slid this on. Or the other thing, if you've got a bigger lobster claw, I don't think this one will work. Yeah, it worked. No, it didn't. It's just a little bit too small. You could dangle it off your eyelet. But mine's just a little, my lobster claw is just a little bit too small. So I can go ahead and put it on my bulb clip. And now I have a dingly dangly for my junk journal. This is the Reader's Digest junk journal. And if I wanted to, this one should be okay to cut. And if I wanted to, I could just keep adding them on. Because I put the lobster claw on both sides. I hope I explained this well today. I appreciate you stopping by and crafting with me. As always, hugs.